Hello, picture book creators, and especially those of you who are looking to illustrate your own picture book using Procreate on the iPad. Do you ever wonder what the process actually looks like inside of an illustrator's iPad? Today, I want to show you a glimpse inside, as well as show you how I paginate for my picture book, which is where you break the manuscript, the text up into pages with the illustrations. If you're curious to know more about that, I have other pagination and storyboarding videos on this channel, but today we're gonna take a peek into a particular story that I'm working on and what it looks like, so let's go. So here we are inside of my Procreate gallery on my iPad. And typically when I'm working on a storybook, I will have all of the illustrations on their own file. If they are a single page, square page, I'll have them on their own file, keeping in mind always a minimum of 300 dpi. And I set that up and have it ready. And if it's a double page spread, I will have it set up in the correct format like that so that I can lay the whole storybook out. So really this is showing you two pages, left page, right page. I have all of the pages in their own files. Sometimes I create elements in a completely separate file. I've shown this on another video here on the channel if you want to see that further in depth. Typically, I'll have all of the illustrations in the order, the best I can, in the order that they go. I'll label them. This bunny's name is Tibbs. Tibbs page 1, Tibbs page 3, Tibbs page 4, and so forth. And then I will have the storyboard be the very first file. Now, I want to give a little bit of a how to do this storyboard. So what you're seeing here is a file that I have available on my site. It's a downloadable, printable, very affordable. You can find the links below. It is a one-page printable that I have for you, and you can print it out and sketch right on paper. But you can see here that I also use it digitally. Now, here is a quick tutorial on how I import my pagination planner into Procreate to use digitally. So if you've downloaded it onto your iPad through the purchase link that you buy it from me and you've done a download, you can, even if you've downloaded already on the desktop or your phone, you can go in through your iPad to the link where you've purchased it and download it on your iPad. So then it should be found in the downloads of your iPad. Now what you would do to import it into Procreate is you would go to the top right where it says import, and you would find your downloads, and you would find that page that you purchased from me and open it. Now what I do, I mean, you can open it and begin to sketch right on it. I keep it as the base layer 1 for whatever I work on, because I don't want to import this file every single time I want to do a storyboard. I just save it here and label it template. And I just keep it in a spot, and you can see now I've imported one for you, but I had mine already saved. So what I do is, I'll just get rid of that now, and you can see the one I have here. So I have it here, and you can rename it, and you can rename it template if you want. And then that shows you not to ever draw or, sketch on that one, but it's available for you to then duplicate. So I'll just show you the duplication process. So I called that template. Now you would, on the top right corner, hit select, check mark it, and then hit duplicate. So now I've ended up with 2 of them here again. Now that you have duplicated your template, I drag it to where I want it located in my gallery, and then I rename that duplication. So I would rename it the name of the book or a placeholder name. And so that leads me to show you what I already have done here for the book I'm working on. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to show you again that I have my storyboard as the very back layer 1. Now, to complicate things a little for you, this particular story had more than 32 pages. So as a rule of thumb, I personally work as best I can within the 32 pages square format of picture books. It's my style, it's how I lean, and it's how I mentor other people to get started because I have found it just simplest. And even when you're beginning illustration, a square format is really nice to work with. And then when you open up that spread, you have a nice long spread to work with. So it is my preference and sort of how I guide within picture book creators. But to complicate things, because this book that I'm working on includes a recipe, I needed a few extra pages. So you will see that I just traced and copied a couple extra pages here. I put them on top of my planning symbols, which we will go over the planning symbols that I provide for you in a completely different video. Stay tuned for that one. Now, what is all this scribble and mess going on? First, I'll show you that these little red markings are just my way of sketching in where I'm going to put text or little jobs I want to do, where I want to switch around these two illustrations. And then a lot of times another color, and in this case it's this navy blue sketch, is me getting ideas for what I'm going to render on these pages. And sometimes I don't really need to sketch myself thumbnails. I just write things like table, fridge, meaning Grandma and the bunny are going to be sitting at the table. Grandma and her little bunny are going to be looking in the fridge. And I don't really need to sketch thumbnails for myself. This is me showing the bunny opening the 2 loaves of bread, or like the 2 sides of the bread. And so basically I give myself really rough thumbnails here. And then when I render an illustration, I bring it into this storyboard to show myself the flow and continuity. I'm able to locate color differences, style differences, the flow of the eye. So let me show you how I bring an illustration into this and how it helps me. I just want to take a quick moment in the middle of today's video to just share with you something that's been on my heart and mind. I know how overwhelming this journey can be when you have a desire to write a picture book for kids and maybe you're feeling stuck at the beginning, you just don't know where to start. That's why I want to make sure that you know about my other playlist called Writing Picture Books, where I'm hosting a free class here on YouTube. It's over in that playlist and it's lesson by lesson, step by step, all that you need to know to start writing picture books for kids. It's really great stuff, you guys, and it took me like a year to put this together for you, drawing from everything that I know and all the experience that it's taken me in writing my picture books for kids. I've put into this class. I want you to find it and enjoy it and grow your skills. One of the ways you can grow your skills is with the companion exercise book that I provide a link to. It's an affordable workbook that takes you step by step, putting into motion and practice everything that I teach, because there's something really important. It's great that you're watching YouTube. It's great that you're listening to me talk, but it's time for you to start doing, to stop watching and start doing. And that's why I've made this exercise book to help hold you accountable to get going with your writing. So without further ado, let's get on with today's video. Here you see on my iPad, I've just about completed a storybook page. It's a single page of Grandma Bunny and little bunny named Tibbs eating their lunch. And I want to see how this will lay out in my storyboard. And this is how I go about doing that. I go to the wrench tool and I say share, and I'm just going to save myself a JPEG right onto my actual device. And that saved the image into my photo gallery. Now I'm going to go into the gallery of Procreate where I have the storyboard, and you can see here, as I've already shown you, the storyboard, I import little tiny thumbnails where they belong. And it just helps me to see what I've gotten done. Really, it's a way to incentivize myself. I find it quite inspiring and helps keep me on track. So here, I don't have a sketch, but I have the word table. And that indicates to me that on page 22 of this storybook, I have Grandma and Tibbs at the table. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to go to the wrench tool. I'm gonna say add insert photo, and the very last photo there in my photos was Grandma and Tibbs because I just saved them, Grandma and Tibbs at the table. So I'm going to shrink that down onto this page here. And then what I'm going to do is just go into the layers and make sure that that layer is where it belongs. It's page 22. So I'm just going to name it page 22 to keep myself organized. And I can find that layer where I wrote the word table, and I can just erase the word table. Now what this does is it gives me the chance to see the flow. There's a common question here on the channel asking, when is a good time to start the illustrations? Do you wait until the manuscript is completely finished? And the answer is yes, you will have less redos and less confusion if you wait until your manuscript is 100% done. Now the lighting here is not grand for me showing you my paper printed manuscript. But what I do want to try to show you here is that after I have gotten my manuscript edited, and please see a video here on the channel where I share about how I find an editor online. If you get it completely edited and ready, what I do is spend some time in Word or Google Doc and I begin to paginate. I also have a great pagination video to check out. Pagination is where you break the text up and decide what pages it's going to land on. And I paginate this way. It's really simple, where I break the text up on paper and I'll put page 8, page 9, page 10, so forth. And I will then, once I get it to where I think it's going to work, I will print it out and I have it next to me when I'm working in Procreate on the iPad. Now, something to bear in mind is you can use your pagination guide digitally. You could put it into another app and you could split the screen on your iPad, but I don't like to lose any screen space for my illustrations, so I prefer to just have a paper version handy. Now, sometimes I'll have to change up the pagination once I get the flow of the illustrations, and I play around with the placement of the text on the page and what words I want to emphasize. Sometimes I will use Procreate and actually type in the words. There is a typing feature where you can add text here, and I don't know if you can see this text box, but I could actually type right into here. I'm going to choose not to right now, but I have also found it just really easy to just write with my pencil. Let's find one where I've written in it. I think I've turned off a lot of the text layers, but let's say we wanted to write on this one. Oh, there's one here. Well, okay. Let's just say I wanted to write on this one to give myself an idea of what I'm going to be saying. I would practice that here and I would do all the writing or whatever. And then I could import it into my storyboard. I do recommend having either a placeholder text or little lines or squiggles, really figure out where all that text is going to go, how it's going to flow. You see this one, I had a lot to put on this page and did some playing around and so forth. So that shows you how I work with a printed pagination guide. And I also want to point out that I'm going to call it budgeting for lack of a better word, but I'm budgeting pages, dedicating pages to front matter and to back matter. And my my pagination planner, this one-page printable that I have available for you, gives you those guides. So for a 32-page picture book, I've given you the guide of having 3 pages for front matter, and then I have a couple pages that are optional, whether you move into the story or have more front matter. And you say, what is front matter, Mary Janelle, and what do I need to put in there? I do have another video all about the essentials for a picture book, and that is about front matter and back matter. With that in mind, though, I'll quickly tell you that it's, some authors, as you expand your book publishing, you may have some of your book titles in the front or the back, and you may have dedication pages and so forth. So these are optional pages. And then I actually give you some prompts to use the rule of thumb that I guide you through in storybook pacing. To use the rule of thumb, I give about 5 pages to world building, and then the middle of the book to the problem, conflict, also known as the climax, and then later in the book I dedicate space to the solution and resolve. Now, these are not concrete rules that you have to follow, but they're suggestions and they're guides to help you pace. Now, you'll notice that on my pagination planner, I'm going to show you without all my scribbles, I've provided you spread planning symbols. I'm going to go over the spread planning symbols in a completely separate, dedicated video, but essentially what they are, just in a glimpse, is you can use those as your first step to planning. So you've gotten your pagination done and you're looking and you think, where am I going to have a double page spread? Where am I going to have single page spreads, spotlights, framing? Check out other videos that explain all these things. But I like to spread and pace all of the illustration types out. So following these symbols, I might say, let's make that a little smaller. Let's do a double page spread here if we can. I have one in mind for that story. Let's do singles for this. I'll be looking here. I'll be looking at what's going on the different pages, and I'll think, oh, this one definitely lends itself to a full double page. And then I'll go, oh, but 2 double pages in a row. What can I do about that? Maybe I need to have a spotlight and then a single page. Now this is so full, maybe I just need to do a little framing here with a single page. And so it helps me to plan out the pacing so that you don't just end up with sparse illustrations in one place, and then way too much in another, and there's a balance and a flow. So there you have it. I hope this glimpse inside my iPad process of pagination and storyboarding in my upcoming storybook that I'm working on has inspired you and been a really practical video to show you perhaps how you can lay out your own process. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give it the thumbs up, hit the bell for notifications, and subscribe to the channel. Here on the channel, I guide writers and illustrators through the picture book creation process, all the way from idea to independent publishing. Thank you for being here on the channel, and until next time, happy creating.